Tapos of Jackro is more than just a point of sale. They've been a leading innovator in cinema software for 30 years and counting. In that time, they've learned that a good supplier needs to be a good partner. That's why their long-standing Tapos customer promise is to share regular upgrades with all their partners, always at no additional cost. Discover why hundreds of cinemas, circuits, and family entertainment centers around the world trust Tapos for seamless ticketing, sophisticated food and beverage features, inbuilt customer relationship management, and much more. During CinemaCon 2026, come see the Tapos team at booth 821 in the Julius Ballroom, or book a demo at any time via the link at taposapp.com.
We want every screening to be the kind of screening where if the director walked in the door, they would be thrilled with what they saw on screen.
This is the Box Office Podcast. I'm Daniel Luria, the editorial director of Box Office Pro, here in our daily CinemaCon 2026 edition, brought to you by Tapos and Luma 4D Emotion. In today's episode, we've got a feature interview with Stephanie Silverman, the executive director of the Belcourt Theater over in Nashville, Tennessee, giving us an update on all things independent cinemas, how that cinema that is such a pillar of its community is navigating everything going on in the industry today. You've heard from multinational circuits. You've heard from major cinema chains. Now it's time to hear from a grassroots cinema in Tennessee that is coming up in the second half of this episode. In our sponsor segment, we have Alan Rowe, CEO of Jackro, the maker of Tapos, the POS system that has been gaining traction over the last couple of years. He joins my colleague Rebecca Pauley in an update of all things point of sale that is coming up in the vendor segment immediately following our analysis portion of the show. And for that, we are joined by, once again, my colleagues and co-host Rebecca Pauley from the Box Office Pro. The Box Office Pro. It's just Box Office Pro.
The one Box Office Pro. We're the one.
The one remaining. And then it's like the Ohio State University, the Box Office Company. We've got Diogo Hausen, movie guide editor over there. Welcome back, Diogo.
The Diogo Hausen Pro.
That's how we call it. And of course, we had to bring him back after his great debut appearance earlier this year. We've got Barry Hertz, the film editor over at the Globe and Mail in Canada. It's Team Print.
Team Print, all the way.
Team Print.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Alive and well.
On the airwaves, but still Prince.
Barry, it's great to have you here joining us. We're going to be going over a couple of highlights from the Warner Brothers and the Universal in Focus Features presentations. But before we do, Rebecca, what does that schedule look like for the final day of CinemaCon?
Final day is finally here. We kick it off at 8 a.m. with Coca-Cola Company presentation and panel discussion entitled The Future of Cinema, Culture, and the Next Generation. Sarah Harsh, Director of Strategic Marketing at Coca-Cola, discussing with some other Coca-Cola executives and special guest and director Hikari of Rental Family about the evolving cinema experience. We follow that up at 9:45 in the morning with a sleep presentation from Paramount that will be followed by the Creative Community Luncheon program about creating a bridge between filmmaking and theatrical exhibition communities. And then, as always, we close up the slate presentations at 2:30 with Walt Disney Studios, followed by the CinemaCon Big Screen Achievement Awards and the Coca-Cola closing night party, and then collapse into whatever hotel room we find ourselves at to
hopefully our own. That's what we've told our
yes.
partners and spouses. That is the promise that we hold to ourselves and the industry. Let's go into today's presentations because there are a lot of movies to go over. Let's start with the Warner Brothers presentation that happened last night. It was just chock full of footage of reveals and endless blabbing from A-list celebrities that nobody really wanted to listen to. But let's talk about the movies first. It was just a big slate, starting with an announcement of a new specialty label for a studio that's for sale. So, you might as well throw something in there. You get a bonus. Now you get a specialty division named Clockwork. That's a new announcement from Warner Brothers. That new division is going to be focused on global audiences, on specialty films. There wasn't really a specific direction here.
Quote, the letterbox generation, Gen Alpha.
That means a lot of things, but as long as it brings movies, I'm happy. We start off with friend of the podcast and listener of the podcast. Hi, Sean. Sean Baker with a new film called Ti Amo, which is great. I mean, long exclusivity windows. I hope they give him the 100 he asked for at the Red Sea Film Festival. That's a good start. And you know what? It was great because as the Warner Brothers presentation started, of course, Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca came on stage. And if we remember a year ago, which was the final days leading into the release of a Minecraft movie, there were actually questions when he showed up to Vegas last year of how much longer they'd be in their jobs. They came in today as conquerors, the conquerors of the box office, conquerors of the Academy Awards. They are a team of executives that inherited a 6-film slate, flipped it into 11 feature films last year, a chunk of them coming from April to September, 9 consecutive #1 spots at the box office. In 2026, they have 14 titles. In 2027, they have 18 titles. In 2028, we don't know who's going to own them, but they're here now. They've got a lot of movies, and the first movie we saw from them was a first look at Digger from Alejandro González Iñárritu and star Tom Cruise. We got some footage. Was that a trailer premiere, Barry? Have you seen this before?
I had not seen that before. I don't think anybody had seen that before.
I think that was
Very premiere.
big premiere. I'm excited for it. I mean, I'm excited after, the last couple Impossible missions to see Tom Cruise acting again. It looks like maybe it's him kind of in his exploring his messianic complex mode, which it always works for him. So
Tom Cruise, I'm assuming R-rated. There's cursing in it.
There's a lot of cursing in that trailer.
Yeah, that's not a PG-13.
Will not make it to the general release cut of that, but yeah.
Tom Cruise R-rated comedy. Vibes in comps here, maybe a little bit to Birdman. There's a manic energy there. Iñárritu's sense of humor is a little bit cynical, a little bit dark. There seems to be, I don't know, maybe some political commentary baked into the film. I was very intrigued. I'm very much looking forward to this movie. Diogo, did this stand out for you at all?
Oh yeah, I've been waiting to see Tom Cruise get weird like this since Tropic Thunder.
It's a long wait.
It has been a long wait.
Yeah.
I haven't forgotten.
We've gotten married, gained weight,
survive,
lost hair, grayed a little bit since then, but it's great to have him back. I can't wait for this one. And then after that happened, I was escorted out of the room and had to argue with security staff at CinemaCon, and I missed footage from Mortal Kombat 2. I'm going to have Diogo lead this because I don't know what we saw at this point.
Oh, okay, yeah. After that, we had the end of Oak Street.
Which is one that I'm very excited about. It seems like a Twilight Zone vibe from David Robert Mitchell, director of It Follows, and the severely underrated Under the Silver Lake Innocent.
It's not an episode of this podcast unless Rebecca defends that film. It came out a while ago. I like it too.
Yeah, right?
No, I like it too.
Well,
it's okay.
I'm a little bitter that they, director of It Follows in the trailer.
You're in a safe space. It's two films we
Silver
like.
Lake, but then they brought a dinosaur into it, so that was okay.
Yeah, a little bit Land of the Lost vibes there.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then we got a small little sneak peek of Evil Dead Wrath. That Evil Dead Burn.
It's evil. Yeah, you're going ahead.
Coming up next.
Yeah. So we got Evil Dead Burn, and I actually did see a little bit of this. Barry, what did you think of this new incarnation of Evil Dead? There's no continuity, right?
There's no continuity other than that, camera that just zooms across the landscape in very Sam Raimi fashion. Yeah. And a bunch of, I guess, Deadites and a Book of the Dead. I thought it was, they introduced a very interesting plot device, which I think we'll call Chekhov's dishwasher.
I also hate washing dishes, so I already like this movie.
Yeah, so that was neat. Mm-hmm. There was a moment with a car seat, let's say, and a neck. That certainly got everyone's attention. I don't know, it was playing to, the Final Destination kind of, super gore, super shock crowd from last year and trying to imbue a little bit more dread in that. I think it'll do well for what it is.
Yeah. Lots of goop.
Yeah, very goop.
It's a goopy movie.
On board.
How goopy was the Mortal Kombat footage?
Mortal Kombat. It wasn't too goopy. It was more focused on Johnny Cage defeating a interdimensional monster. Yes, named Baraka.
Call him by his name, Diogo. Have the respect that Baraka deserves. A character that only showed up in Mortal Kombat 2 was swiftly abandoned.
The important thing is that we did see Carl Urban as Johnny Cage do the split and punch somebody in the dick.
Yeah,
that's
which is the only thing I wanted.
Well, I would have liked a finish him move. It was actually a distressingly gore-free clip for a Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah. It is R-rated, right?
It is R-rated, but it was very much leaning into the comedy. But it was also leaning very much into like, hey, we got Carl Urban this time, who's kind of like a real actor compared to the cast that he was surrounded with.
He was like, I'm an actor. I can't do all these moves. I can't do this fighting. And then he does all that fighting.
He does that. Yeah.
He used the power of acting.
Yeah. Oh. And his co-stars, who are like quite lower tier, I would say, in the Hollywood ecosystem, also seemed astounded at the power of acting.
That's right.
So that was a little nice meta moment.
So let me get this straight. This is a protagonist who uses the power of acting to dick punch people.
Yes.
Yeah. That's basically.
I'm going to be there opening night. I can't wait. After that, to keep on this theme, we saw footage from The Cat in the Hat, an animated adaptation of the children's book classic that I read that book maybe once every other night at home. I even read the sequel, The Cat in the Hat Comes Back. Mother's Coming Home Soon. Hi, Elena. What do you guys think?
We didn't just see it. We saw it while wearing wigs.
They gave us all wigs.
Blue wigs.
I was a conscientious objector to wearing
I didn't wear the wig. I didn't do the wig.
I'm not putting something on my head that is unknown provenance.
No,
that's fair.
No, it wouldn't have been a good look for you, Barry, unfortunately. So I saw a bunch of this in Cine Latam already. Warner showed up with a lot of footage with Cat in the Hat that they're really going to be pushing in Latin America. It's not a movie for me. It doesn't have to be. But what did you guys think?
This was pushed back, right? This was initially going to be like Q1, and they pushed it back to Q4.
I'm not quite sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they're doing a very, ambitious kind of release date in that holiday corridor. Yeah, not so much my thing, but, you have Bill Hader and let him just do crazy voices for...
Yeah, I feel those who will go to it repeatedly. Although I will say, like, the new trailer that they debuted kind of lost me from the one that they had originally put out there, which pointed to kind of a more Men in Black vibe, where there's this whole organization of Seussian creatures.
This one always had like a more Inside Out sort of vibe. Yeah, like it goes into the world created by her memories.
Trauma and trying to solve that. I was like, I don't know if I would rather the more goofy.
As someone who has read the book consistently quite recently, I can tell you that the main theme of it is don't rat out the cat.
No narcs.
Yeah. You can't just get the cat. Yeah.
Scratches, I guess.
That's exactly. That's a good. Again, Diogo, you're available here for Warner Brothers Marketing. You know how to get in touch.
I'm like really interested in the animation style that they got going on for Cat in the Hat.
It does look
neat.
It
looks really cool.
Some of the like visuals reminded me of like Paprika, the parade bit.
Yeah.
Which that's a very fucked up movie. It's not at all children's like, but visually it looked very interesting.
Yeah, I like seeing Warner Animation finding kind of their voice there with the new bumper there with Tweety and all the different animation styles in there. Visually pleasing.
No, I think it's gonna play a role at the box office. We just don't know how big, but we're gonna need it later on in the calendar. Do we have a release date for that? Is it November? Am I right about that of this year? We'll be looking at
November 6th.
November 6th. We actually need something in that corridor. I think it's going to be a weak Thanksgiving slate this year. So if that can perform, it's going to beat the doldrums that we have been experiencing in October recently. And unfortunately, I think we'll be experiencing again this October. So November 6th, I really like that release date for Cat in the Hat. And then again, because there's no consistency to this presentation, we went to Clayface, an R-rated DC Comics, bad guy horror thing.
It looked neat.
Yeah.
It looked like it was very much leaning into the body horror element of a guy who he has no face. His face is clay. His face is, I don't know, Diogo, what's the deal with Clayface?
What is Mr. Face?
Yeah, that's
about?
it. That's all you really need to know.
It's a man whose face is clay.
There's been a whole bunch of different versions.
Is he bitten by radioactive clay? What's the excuse here?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly what happened.
That's
no,
it.
no more explanation
No more
necessary.
needed.
I love how intense it looked and how
It felt kind of Raimi-esque almost. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because we just had seen some
Uh-huh.
Evil Dead stuff, but
Well,
it had that sort of...
it's certainly not James Gunny.
No,
There was
but-
no-
well,
there's
more
no-
slithery James.
Oh,
Yeah,
so-
no quipping though. No
Yeah.
quipping.
No
in that
quipping.
trailer.
I will say, I'm. This is an idea that always surfaces. What if we do a body horror element of a superhero? It just every 3 years someone has this idea, and I don't think it's ever been executed well.
Well, they
I'm
tried to
rooting
do
for
it
this
with
one.
Trank's Fantastic Four. That
Yeah.
was the whole.
Oh,
That didn't
Uh,
work.
No, it did not work.
They tried to do it with the New Mutants. Is that the name of
Yeah,
that 20th
yeah,
Century
yeah,
Fox thing? Yeah, that didn't work either. It's an idea that gets recycled every 3-4 years. Let's have it work finally. Let's go for it.
They're
But
gonna get it.
I'm hoping. I'm rooting for it. But even if it doesn't, I think the DC Comics big bet of this year is obviously going to be Supergirl coming out in June. This was a film that got a lot of footage here, and if you dozed off and opened your eyes and were confused as to why there was a Star Wars spin-off in the middle of the Warner Brothers presentation, you'd be forgiven, because I did not recognize anything comic book from this footage.
I just like that there was somebody, not in the clip, but in the overall presentation called DJ Squeaker.
DJ Screecher.
Squeaker?
He was an alien DJ. That's
Alien
the
DJ.
important part.
Alien DJ. And Jason Momoa popping up again. I think only Jack Black has been in more CinemaCon presentations this year, more than
I
Jason
think Jack
Momoa.
Black, he didn't
Every
show up
day.
in
And
Neon.
everyone.
Like
Yeah.
just Neon and Angel and Sony Pictures Classics are the only Jack Black presentations that hasn't...
Was it the for Minecraft too? I think for the Warner Brothers one, he was there, like showing the
Through a
video,
video,
like,
yeah.
sang a
oh,
song.
it's been so long since I've seen you. Like, no, it's been since yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was, he's great, and I think we've all had a cake and enjoying his banter here. I gotta be honest about Supergirl. I wasn't convinced, but to be fair, Barry, when you and I were here and Superman debuted all that footage, I was less convinced of that. I went to the movies and I actually really liked the movie, so what do I know?
I don't know. Yeah, I had a fine enough time with Superman, but Supergirl, judging by the clip that was shown,
Mhm.
I appreciate the whole Mos Eisley Cantina on a intergalactic
Mhm.
airplane bus.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, interstellar bus stops.
Interstellar bus stops. That was fine, but the action when it came time was just
It was
so slow and redundant.
it was
and
tough to tell what was going on. To
And
me. Like if the screen was very dark. It was a little
Yeah.
bit dingy feeling.
It's like fighting these like space pirates, and I honestly,
glitching around.
I did the glitching. Yeah, I did not care what was going on or any of the stakes.
Yeah,
and
I wasn't super impressed, but the kind of supercut trailer teaser that they played after that was more interesting. I
yeah,
guess.
surprisingly crypto light given the trailer that is already out there. That seems to imply this is a save the dog story.
It's a cryptoverse. There's so much dog in these things.
I mean, James Gunn loves pets to
Yeah.
perhaps an unhealthy degree. For
I
regular
don't,
movie
I don't
goers.
know. Like, I just
You got
just-
doubts.
It's clearly a CGI dog. Like, it's a very well done CGI dog,
Still a CJ dog.
but it's a CGI dog.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Diogo, you're a super fan.
Sure.
You're the one that has most admiration towards where this is going. Did this do it for you?
Yeah, the CGI dog that wasn't in this trailer, worked so well in Superman that I think it's going to work well in this movie again.
Okay.
Knowing that people like it and knowing the source material coming from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, like it really follows the graphic novel a lot from what I'm seeing. So I think when it's in context and that people understand what the movie's about, I think it'll all play better. I'm hyped for it. I got what I came for.
Yeah, you came for this, and
Yeah.
that delivered. After that, we took another left turn in this presentation. Got to see a little bit of footage from Practical Magic 2, a sequel to a cult film that came out a number of years ago, longer than I'd like to admit. And we actually got co-stars Nicole Kidman, who you might know as the AMC
And
spokesperson,
she did quote, "We come to this
Yeah.
place for magic."
to rousing applause.
Yes. I love
The gift that
like,
keeps on giving. That's the best ad spend that AMC has ever
it
spent
got
on.
brought up at the roundtable
Roundtable,
discussion
yeah,
earlier today
yeah.
about how that yeah, and I love that were they trying to like trying to keep Tom and Nicole away from each other backstage.
Yikes.
I don't
okay.
know, but
We won't get too much into it.
no, but it looked fun. I was not super Practical Magic wasn't one of those movies for
It
me
wasn't
growing
one
up,
for you, yeah.
but I know it enough that they were definitely, Nicole and Sandra Bullock were playing up the sibling dynamic that they have in the movie, kind of reigniting that sort of sibling-y banter vibe that they have. It looks interesting.
It's just nice to see Nicole Kidman in a movie instead of a limited miniseries that she's been making for the past 5 years. So that was fine. The banter in the film seemed okay. The banter on stage could have used some improvements.
There was too much yapping in the Warner Brothers presentation.
Well, at this point right around the time when we were Practical Magic was wrapping up is when the presentation should have ended, timing-wise.
Yeah, it went 40 minutes over.
I don't know where that 40 minutes came from.
Because
at
least
like
when
you had Vin Diesel,
exactly. When Ben Diesel shows up, it's a guaranteed extra 40 minutes, and Barry Hertz writes a book about it. This time, we didn't even get that.
I'm very. We can get into my crushing disappointment in the lack of Vin once we get to Universal.
We would still be there.
I would happily be there until they finally barrel down the Coliseum.
Chatty and slow, unfortunately, I thought was the Practical Magic 2 segment.
They were kind of trying to
to
get through it. There was some sort of production something or other, and they were trying to stall the time.
Yeah. It didn't work out for me. And then we saw some footage from J.J. Abrams' The Great Beyond, a title that, again, was added into the schedule not that long ago on a really strategic release date, November 13, 2026. And I can't reiterate this enough. Get ready for a bumpy second half of August. September, October has some gaps in it. And we need those early November pictures to come and perform because this Thanksgiving is coming off of two of the highest Thanksgivings in history. And it's not a guarantee with the slate that we have. So The Great Beyond in that release date is great. I don't know if that's going to have a Running Man performance or a Gladiator 2 performance. But based on what we saw, what do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, J.J. Abrams was on hand to present the initial trailer for the film. I think the first footage that we've ever seen of it.
Yeah.
A lot was made of how J.J. Abrams has his fingerprints, for better or worse. Star Wars are on a lot of different franchises, and this is him going back to an original story. It looks very J.J. Abrams-y.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know that I would say... We have no idea what it is about.
Yeah, yes. I don't know that I would say it didn't look super original, but
I was waiting for like some kind of like gotcha shot or like something to
I don't really know
raise
what it's
the pulse.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson looks almost in like a Glass-y type role there. As like an older guy guarding some secrets
But Glenn Powell, Jenna Ortega, Emma Mackey. It looks like a targeted, like there was people like us who are always searching for something, want to be in another world. It looked like it was tailor-made for just millennials disappointed in their lives and the world. So.
I don't need a reminder of that. Yeah. I wake up every morning. I look in the mirror.
Yeah. This was like a more of a vibes trailer than a let you know what's going on movie. But he did get me when he sort of said he wasn't suggesting that Glenn Powell peaked in high school.
Yeah,
he
did start out.
To clarify, that's not in the film. That was just in the intro banter to the footage.
And and I was like, I wonder how that plays into the movie.
Yeah, we'll see. I still think there's work to do with The Great Beyond. I wasn't particularly impressed. I was impressed, however, by the opening 7 minutes of Lee Cronin's Dune 3. I'm sorry, no, that's a typo.
Lee Cronin's
My bad. I'm sorry, no, this is Dune Part 3. It's a mistake here. I don't know how that got in here. No, I was fascinated. Those 7 minutes looked great.
They had the people dressed up in there. They had chanting. Fremen. They had people coming out in lines.
And they rose up on stage into the rafters there.
Yeah, two dudes flew.
Yeah, two dudes flew. It was pretty intense. I mean, that was the moment that was worth however long the show was going over.
That was when they brought out Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, who obviously was there.
And Jack Black. No, that's a joke.
He changed his clothes, though.
They set it
and
up.
Denis Villeneuve. No, Zendaya's the only person who could possibly be beating Boots Riley on that fashion award front. It kind of looked like a couture skin suit, almost.
Yeah, finalists, definitely. So right now it's Juice Burt, Zendaya, and Boots Riley for a top 3 sartorial award at CinemaCon 2026. Again, Juice Burt, just the master of fashion. We'll have to see what Kevin Feige brings
and what sort of ball cap he wears at the presentation tomorrow.
And that was it when it comes to footage. We did get some title announcements. I'm just going to rush through these because there's a lot of Universal to go over. We have coming out on April 9th, 2027, The Revenge of La Llorona. Not going to go into that right now, but for those of you who know what that is, it's what it is. We've got an Ocean's 12 for Ocean's 11. Prequel. It's just called Ocean's Prequel right now, but A-list name attached.
2, I think, right? Margot Robbie and Bradley Cooper is directing it?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Margot Robbie, but yes, Bradley Cooper also directing, writing, and starring in the film alongside co-star Margot Robbie here. Ocean's Prequel, we were told something very quick about it. Like
it was like his parents, it was during a Grand Prix, like his parents.
1962 sets.
So like a Man from U.N.C.L.E. I liked Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, I think that, and that log line has kind of been like floating around for a while, ever since Ryan Gosling, I think, was attached to that role. Yeah.
Okay. June 25th, 2027, that's coming up. Yeah, in the future. And then we had already previewed a new Evil Dead title, Evil Dead Wrath, that is going to be released on April 7, 2028 from the New Line label. Continuing the horror tradition on May 12, 2028, Final Destination 7. I think that's just going to deliver. I'm glad that franchise is back. Then we've got Zach Cregger coming back to New Line, I'm assuming horror, on August 11, 2028 with The Flood. And that's not the only Zach Cregger production on the slate, because Gladys, the prequel on Our Favorite Aunt, is coming out on September 8th, 2028. No director attached, but Cregger is writing and producing this title.
I don't know about that. I mean, we literally know nothing about it, but if a movie is a hit and a character is a standout and then immediately gets a prequel movie, it kind of raises some alarm bells for
Feels
me.
Like it was a joke that everyone has taken too far.
Yes.
It's like, we guess you do a Gladys spinoff. Yeah, funny idea. No, we're doing it. And now I'm a little scared.
And that's what happens when you let Reddit posts become pitches. We'll see how that turns out. And then we got an announcement of the Joan of Arc film from director Baz Luhrmann, dated tentatively on November 22nd, 2028. To cap off, I think, a uneven Warner Brothers presentation where the highlight for me was Dune Part 3 and the low light was mostly everything else.
They had production value, I will say. It was a lot of pizzazz, at least compared to the next presentation that we have to break down. But yeah, Dune for me definitely was I left with a little Dune buzz.
Yeah,
everyone did.
That was some next level action that we got to see there.
Yeah.
Do we want to mention that we saw a teaser trailer for Lord of the Ring Hunt for Gollum as well?
A little
saw a snippet.
A snippet. I think there's like maybe 3 seconds of footage.
And I think it was also
he
like
some lines. We see him in there.
Yeah,
it's a little something.
It was footage.
Good enough
from,
for a
It felt like it was leftover footage.
It was the same footage from like Andy Serkis doing the My Precious speech with some words.
Please tell me Peter Jackson is doing somethingelse with his career,
with his life.
He made his money. He's
fine.
Do cool things.
He got Weta. That's given us a lot of great things.
In terms of struggling Warner Brothers fantasy franchises, we did see that there's going to be a Game of Thrones movie, which we already knew, and it is subtitled Aegon's Conquest, which
whatever that means. Best of luck to Aegon and his.
I watched the first couple seasons of House of the Dragon, and I feel like I don't need to pick back that up. So
there's a lot of Aegons.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're not even sure which
Aegon.
Aegon.
We don't know which Aegon it is.
Oh, mystery. It could be a future Aegon.
Yeah.
Could be a modern day Aegon.
Maybe we'll finally get the biggest question of the Game of Thrones series answered. Who exactly is Lee Cronin?
Lee Cronin's Aegon.
For the love of, why would you name that movie that? My apologies to Mr. Cronin, but wow. Okay, let's move over to Universal now, because this started in a way that I don't think any of us expected. We did a wish list episode, a preview episode, and no one in their right mind said Universal opens with a Snoop Dogg biopic. Yeah, he showed up in person.
He did do a few lines from a few songs. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lakeith Stanfield was here the previous day, and he played Snoop in Straight Outta Compton, but that was not mentioned, which is fine.
We also got DJ Green Lantern with them, so we got more Green Lantern from Universal than Warner Brothers. Just putting that out there.
You're a little bitter about that? Yeah, I figured.
And we've got the gentleman who's going to play Snoop Dogg, Jonathan Davis. I'm not familiar with who that is myself, but
from Netflix's Outer Banks. So he has a built-in youth audience there. It
Kinda
would have
like-
been nice to
kinda like
have heard his voice on stage.
He
That would have been nice.
stage, and then he turned around and he left.
Yeah, which was kind of a running theme through the Universal presentation.
We flew this person in. Say hi. Don't speak. There's the exit.
But directed
What
by
was
Craig
up with
Brewer,
that?
so that's,
Yeah.
you know.
Kind of a strange Universal presentation, knowing just how high that production value has been in the past.
Yeah.
This seemed a little last minute.
I feel like they spent their budget on big ticket names and maybe had $250 left over for the rest of it. I feel like they maybe spent less time planning it than we have talking about it.
Yeah, it wasn't impressive at all.
No, it was just like, and here's a bunch of trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
they
no-
actually said that
No, they
line.
did.
No.
It was like,
That
yeah.
was literally what happened.
And I was going through like the spreadsheet of the upcoming release schedule that I get from Diogo periodically, and like
You're welcome.
counted the 33 films that Universal and Focus have coming out this year and next year. 9 of them were mentioned or got footage in the presentation, which is so weird. Like there's Obsession.
And they still went over. They still went over their 2 hours. Wow.
There's a feature coming out from Focus, I think in like a month, called Obsession. It's
Yeah.
by Curry Barker. It's a buzzy festival
I
title.
saw it at Toronto before,
How was it?
I saw, like-
Focus picked it up.
I saw the Milk and Cereal, the like YouTube thing he did before.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, this is a movie that will impress a lot of horror fans.
Mhm.
It has great acting from a relatively unknown cast, some great concept, great execution. It can be a nasty piece of work in the best kind of way.
You are
And
selling
we're-
this better
and we're
than
doing more
Universal
work than
sold it
Universal.
an hour ago,
Right.
by the
A
way.
movie by a first-time feature director with not too many names. Like this is the sort of movie that
needs a push.
That
Yes.
needs, that needs a little
Well,
like
it was-
needs exhibitors to like understand what it is.
It's even more puzzling because my inbox, I don't know about your guys, but there's a viral campaign that Universal has started for this film that I think started about like 3 days ago. Because it's about a guy who makes a wish using this thing. And
Oh, the Willow thingy?
Yeah.
I've seen people around with those.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I thought that was going to be naturally leading up to some kind of
But no,
discussion in the presentation, but to be completely ignored. is
Yeah.
puzzling.
we
It's weird.
get two focus movies that got any sort of screen time at all. One of them was a Jane Austen Sense and Sensibility adaptation. The other one, Werewolf.
Yeah, we got to see a little bit
But
of
like
Werewolf.
2 films.
But there was a good amount of footage of Werewolf, and I was happy
Yeah,
with
that
that.
was-
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
anyone's
I think
seen
most
that.
people
Like,
were happy.
There's
to
other
see
stuff
that.
on the slate that I wish we'd seen anything of. Instead, we got 20 minutes on Minions.
Let's get into that, because that's where I think
I think we need to spend 20 minutes exactly like breaking down the minute by minute presentation.
Well, it was an odd studio presentation because you had on stage for the first time at CinemaCon Steven Spielberg, and minutes earlier you had Christopher Nolan, and somehow I'm walking out saying, why did they spend so much time on that Minions movie? And that I cannot understand
They
how
brought the
this
director
worked out
out to like wave and then turn around and
leave. Well,
Yes, the master of language who created the Minions language wasn't allowed to speak. That's right.
It felt very odd, but let's go into what exactly happened here, because Minions and Monsters, which is the new Minions title that is going to make a lot of money in your theaters this
does not
summer,
need any help.
needs no help whatsoever. We know what it is. Somehow Universal decided to spend a good amount of time showing us footage of Minions and Monsters to very, very old people, myself included, at the Coliseum Auditorium. We spent a good time on this Minions movie that I don't think needed to convince anyone. We know what it is. We're good.
We know that it's set in 20s Hollywood in the beginning of but I mean, I don't know if that's...
This
if
is like the
someone's gonna
Babylon version of Minions.
Right?
Yeah.
Hopefully with less elephant.
Yeah.
But
Kids love elephant
It
poop.
could, yeah. Elephant poop might save it. We all have a wall at CinemaCon because it's such an exhausting endeavor to be here. And people listening to this don't want to hear it. Oh, it's so exhausting. Yeah, you went to Vegas to watch trailers. You're tired. Yes, we are. We're very tired. You don't get it. But we all have a wall. I hit it with this Minions presentation. I hit the wall. I'm sitting next to Rebecca, and I just sank in my chair, closed my eyes, and went to a happy place. And I opened my eyes as soon as they left all that Minions footage behind, which is good because I opened my eyes right on time to see Christopher Nolan on stage introducing a film that was entirely shot in IMAX. A story that he says has fascinated generations after generations for 3,000 years.
It's not a story, it's the story.
It's the story. The Odyssey, we got to see a good amount of first look footage.
Well, the horse stuff, that was already out. That what movie?
It was the playing in front of one of the IMAX titles.
Yeah.
Was it?
So
Was
that's
it one that no, it couldn't have been.
No,
too late
I guess
for that.
what's come out in Universal so far this year?
I don't know if it was a
IMAX.
Universal or it was a Warner Brother that they put it in front of, but
But
I
it's
don't know.
out.
It's
already
been
out.
it's been
Yeah, it's
playing
been
in
out.
front. It was. I've seen that footage. It's great footage. This one had a little bit of extra kind of spliced into it.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but the footage looked a little dark.
Yes,
I
yes.
know.
I'm glad I didn't say
I,
it.
No,
I noted
I
it,
know.
and in my
It looked
tweet I
dark.
noted that theaters are going to need to check their xenon bulbs
Mhm.
because this could look very dark unless you have
Yeah.
very clear presentation.
Y-
And as we
Invest
know,
in
like
laser,
the best
yeah.
presentation is used typically in there. And you're right, there were moments where it was a little hard to see what was going on.
This guy, and if he doesn't have unintelligible dialogue, he has like really underlit images. I don't get it. But yeah, I could barely make out what was going on in some of these sequences. They'll get it figured out. They always do. This is going to be one of the biggest films of the year. We didn't get to learn much more from it, but read the book. You read it in high school. Reread it. It's there.
Easy read.
Rewatch the 90s TV miniseries with Armand Asante and Bernadette Peters. There you go.
It's
There you
practically the same thing.
Then we did get to see in the here's a bunch of trailers portion of the Universal presentation a peek at a romantic comedy titled One Night Only. And let me know if I'm wrong about this. This is coming out in August, I believe, of this year. I don't know if I misunderstood it, but I think there's like a sci-fi high concept element here.
It's like a purge
Of
for,
sex.
for rom-coms.
It's the one night, there's only one night of the year where single people can have sex. I don't know how they enforce that.
And
The
it's
movie does not-
Halloween, right? It has to be
The
Halloween.
movie doesn't look like
Doesn't
sci-fi
look
or genre
dystopia-ish.
in any other way.
And they also did kind
Did
of
you
like...
miss this, Diogo?
They
didn't understand that trailer
They
at
speed ran
all.
through that plot point.
Well, and they introduced the trailer to this One Night Only with like a big, we have so many historical great rom-coms in the theater, but there are no more rom-coms anymore in theater. Rom-coms need help. We need to have great rom-coms back in cinema again. And then
And here's this watery,
Yeah.
high-concept rom-com that we're not selling
doesn't
very well.
really look like.
And
they
someone
didn't have
sitting
much
with us
rom-
had no idea this high concept was. It was a throwaway line, by the way.
I'm
And
putting this
2 minutes-
all together now. I thought when they said that it's the one night of the year that people
Thought it was like
It's like-
Valentine's Day?
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought it was like some sort of
No,
joke
it's
for
literally
Valentine's Day.
illegal to
No,
have premarital
it's
sex.
it's like The
Yeah.
Purge, but sex.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Sex Purge. That's a better title.
Oh, Sex Purge.
Sex Purge.
I would see Sex Purge.
Just do that. Oh man.
It's not too late to change.
No, please. We're here. We're underpaid journalists. Let's move on here with the presentation. I actually like this part. Other Mommy.
Other mommy trailer.
Oh
looked
my
good.
God.
Jessica Chastain, October 2026. Good old-fashioned doppelganger. I'm there.
So
You
creepy.
give me a
Smiling.
doppelganger, I'm there.
I liked it.
And who played her? It was one of the Savages.
J.D.
It was
Plus?
one. No, it was
Oh, the
J.D.
Duplass.
Plus.
Yeah, it was one of the Duplass,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing.
Classes.
Exactly.
Another one of the
Different-
brothers.
Same thing,
Yeah.
different generation. God bless them. Yeah, that actually looked really good. I'm into doppelganger.
And I
porn.
think that this was here are some trailers.
Yeah, this was
section.
like, here's a bunch of genre trailers.
Yeah, and it really
Alright.
minimal effort, minimal footage. We're not going to say much about Violent Night 2. We saw something around that. You saw Violent Night 1. I mean, what do you want to say about it? There's
I'd
talking about Mrs.
rather
Claus?
say
Yeah,
nothing.
Chris,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
just-
a sword wielding Kristen Bell as Mrs. Claus, which okay.
I don't know. I'm exhausted.
I
by
like the
movie
first one
already.
okay, but like I don't feel like I needed this.
I hit the wall at this point. Seriously, after the Minions, you lost me.
It's okay because David Harbour is a very uncomplicated person.
Oh
and
yeah, no,
it'd
the
be
marketing
easy
campaign
to sell.
for that movie is gonna
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
just
Oh.
smooth sailing.
Good luck. What we did actually appreciate in terms of footage, and this is in our preview episode on what had stakes going into it at this CinemaCon, we needed to see a sign of life from Fokker-in-Law because it's the big Thanksgiving title.
It bugs me so much. I kept saying Fokker-in-Law, Fokker-in-Law. Fokker-in-Law would have Fokker-in-law. Fokker space in dash law is Fokker-in-law. like the punctuation in this
Everyone
title.
else is confused here. If you're
Punctuation in
listening,
this title is
we all
off.
have the word editor in our professional titles, and only one of us is hung up by this.
Well, now that you
Father-in-law.
bring it up, I'm also perturbed.
Right. Mother-in-law would be mother
Yes,
dash in dash law.
This is a whole like Wuthering Heights in quotation marks copy editor's nightmare.
This just feels like a mistake.
You're saying we should call it Sex Purge as well.
Yes.
I think
All right.
if Universal is
Sex Purge.
listening, you've got some great new titles on offer right here that will make everybody's lives easier.
Yeah, I really want to title this episode Lee Cronin Sex Purge.
Yeah.
That should
what it
really
is.
be the
Official
title
title.
of this episode. I don't think we can get away with it. I don't think our sponsors would be too happy. Thank you for supporting us. This is the content you paid for. You paid for Lee Cronin's Sex Purge.
And
Thank you for your
Ben Stiller
support.
and Robert De Niro were there.
Yeah, that was,
Incidentally.
that was the best banter part.
That was a
the event
banter,
so far.
especially because De Niro kept admitting, "I didn't write this. I didn't write this."
Yeah,
He looked like he
something was
didn't
up.
want to be there and made no bones about it.
Which is
Yeah.
it would be weird if he did look like he
Yeah.
wanted to be there.
That's true.
On
That is
brand.
true. He often looks like he does not want to be wherever he is.
Jason Momoa looked hungover.
Yeah. When you think about the logistics, he's a historic actor, legendary actor. He's not that young. You flew that man from New York to Vegas for like 4 minutes of stage time, and now you got to fly him back.
Did Ariana Grande just not want to be there?
I mean, she's got other. She's
she-
got
she-
global
commitments.
superstar pop
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's busy.
I would have liked to see Owen Wilson on stage.
Oh,
An
oh.
Owen Wilson Ben Stiller banter could have been really good.
Ooh, that
Oh,
would
yeah.
be great.
From the trailer, it looked like the vibe is that Ben Stiller's the dad now, and Ariana Grande is his new daughter-in-law to
Daughter-in-law,
be.
yeah.
Except she's a hostage negotiator who's really good at emotionally manipulating people.
I like the trailer.
Yeah,
I had a good reaction to
I was
it.
I was waiting for one bigger laugh to cap it off.
And there was a good Bill Maher dig.
There
Yeah,
was
it's a good-
a
yeah.
good Bill Maher dig.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I mean, ultimately, I think we saw enough of Faulkner-in-Law to feel confident about it, if not excited. So I don't think anyone's excited,
No.
but I'm a little confident, or more confident than I was 3 hours ago
Yeah.
coming out of this presentation. But it's so weird. Then we had two really rushed footage moments of Sense and Sensibility coming out in October of 26, and a great footage reveal of Robert Eggers' Werewolf, the Christmas title that's coming up this year. But if you just think back not that long ago, all the care and attention that Universal put into those presentations, where they talked to the local theater GMs, where they brought
yeah,
out
yeah.
executives.
They brought them up and they had
little,
them.
the little special wand thingies that everybody that lit up choreographed.
Yeah, for Wicked.
tunes.
This wasn't that.
No.
This was very, very far from that.
Yeah.
You're
And-
right in who said it felt like it was rushed, like it was
Yeah.
last minute planned.
And then,
Yeah.
you have Donna Langley and Jim Moore compared to like however many executives from Warner Brothers they had on stage. I mean, it felt rushed. It felt last minute. But in advance of in the run up to the Universal presentation, the gentleman from Fandango is giving a sponsor speech, and he says, "We have a present for you afterwards. It's much more useful than a T-shirt," which was a can koozie and a coupon for a free beverage at the bar. So that's good. I kind of wish I'd had that before the Universal presentation.
If they gave us cocktails before the Minions thing, I would have appreciated
Yes.
that more.
Yes.
After it's a little bit too late.
It's so funny. Like this being my first CinemaCon, I was still excited by everything.
No, that's good. I'm sorry. Listen, I don't want to seem grumpy here.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
There was footage. There were stars. And I don't know why everyone seems so tired up on that stage this year. We don't have the electricity or energy we've had in prior years when it comes to these presentations. And I hope that we're recording this an hour before the start of the Amazon MGM presentation, which has a lot at stake because they need to impress us moving forward. And we're taping this before the Paramount presentation, which has the most at stake at this CinemaCon. So the stage is set after decently okay presentations for Paramount to wow everyone. And I think as we get closer to that presentation, those stakes are rising.
Well, Universal, you would think, I mean, Warner Brothers took their well-deserved victory lap after 2025. Universal's coming into CinemaCon, like, a few weeks after they made everybody in the industry so happy about adopting a 45-day theatrical exclusivity window, which took them, like, an hour and 48 minutes to bring up, and it wasn't even them that brought it up. Spielberg brought it up.
To be fair, no, I think Donna Langley brought it up at the start, to be fair.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, she brought it up, and I think it was a nice, like, hey, we hear you, here it is. And it's great. And I think Donna Langley, fantastic executive. She's been there many years, friend of exhibition, at least in my opinion. I think she's been
Snoop
very
Dogg was
fair.
trying to, like, give her a necklace. And
Yeah, and I think
she did get a very good reception from that room. Like,
yeah,
I would say even
she's
higher
very
than,
well respected
than Mike and Pam, who I thought would get the biggest. She was very well received.
Donna Langley, I think a lot of people in this industry feel that she's an ally, and I think that's reflected obviously by the new policy change here from Universal, which we needed, and that was addressed by the big finale of the presentation from Universal this evening when Steven Spielberg went on stage to accept something called the MPA 250 Award, which is totally not something that was made up this week.
It's the Montgomery Burns Award for Excellence in the Field of Excellence.
Yeah, Pullman Domingo came on stage to introduce Charlie Rivkin, who gave a, quote, deeply meaningful award. I wrote in my notes, is the deeply meaningful award within the room with us?
Yes,
it was deeply meaningful to Charlie.
Yeah.
That was maybe, but by this point in the presentation, I was...
the Minions took all the air out of the room.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, it was also because then you saw that they placed 2 couches on the stage there.
And you're like, why?
And we're like,
we're going over.
We're going to get a tete-a-tete.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to see some Disclosure Day stuff.
We all kind of wanted to file our stories and keep on going with her evening.
I mean, I liked that Spielberg made a point of saying there's nothing from the third act in the trailers, because nowadays if there's a frame of finale in any trailer, it's the internet detectives are gonna parse it and figure it out. That was, I mean, we got some new footage. Most of it was stuff we'd seen.
I think that the extended trailer, it did actually answer like a couple questions I had about the movie.
Yeah.
Like it answered what that kind of clucking thing is. We got an answer to what Emily Blunt is saying. I feel we got an answer to like that whole Thomas Kincaid animal stuff where we see what is going on behind there.
We got a little bit of more like about who Colin Firth's character is.
Yeah, and we got some looks at the aliens. And I want to say that actually we got look at several different kinds of aliens, if I'm not
There was
mistaken.
a lot revealed. And we don't want to give too much detail. If you're listening to this, we're going to let Universal roll out their marketing campaign in their time frame. But I think people are excited. It was a high point.
I thought it was a good I thought it was a good cut clip.
Yeah,
it was good.
I hope it does well. I think there's a lot there to promote an original sci-fi movie that's coming in the middle of the summer. I'm excited for it to come out. In Spielberg's words, it is an experience. All you need to get from the beginning to the end of this movie is a seatbelt. And that's the type of thing I want, for my summer entertainment. I keep on thinking, like, what's a really good, like, genre summer movie that I went in alone with a large Pepsi on a hot day? And the last one was Alien Romulus. Yeah. I remember just going to Alien Romulus with an extra large soda and having a great time in August.
I did not have a good time with Romulus.
It didn't look like that movie to me. Like, it didn't look like a big rollicking, like,
no, it looks a little bit more intellectual.
And,
thematically
like,
curious.
It's not him in Jurassic Park mode.
I think it's going to pop off in the third act. I think
I'm very curious. I love that he said that because that piqued my interest way up.
And to be honest, there were a lot of shots in that footage that looked like they were taking from a third act.
Yeah.
But maybe not the third act.
Maybe it's not the third act.
Right.
I mean, there's a good theory going around about what this movie actually turns into that I won't spoil here, but it made me very excited.
Yeah.
Sex purge?
Sex purge.
Sex
That's
purge.
right.
Sex purge.
That is alien sex purge.
Yeah.
The highlight of day 3 studio presentations here at CinemaCon is exactly that. But it's not over. We're about to go headed over back to the Coliseum to catch the Amazon MGM presentation. We'll have that recap in tomorrow's episode of this podcast, and we'll leave you now with Rebecca Spaulding's interview with Alan Rowe, the CEO of Jack Rowe, talking about the point of sale revolution currently going on in the industry. That'll be coming up after the break. And then in our feature segment, Stephanie Silverman, the executive director of the Belcourt Theater, joins me in a discussion of everything in the world of independent cinemas. That's coming up in the final segment of this episode.
Luma is making another bold impact in the cinema industry with its latest innovation, Magnify 8, a one-of-a-kind experience that offers exhibitors another highly attractive and cost-effective solution besides their well-recognized and celebrated 4D emotion. Magnify 8, a truly distinctive format, features multiple vibration points within the seat, seamlessly combined to feel the power of the movies moving through the body. Each vibration effect is meticulously programmed and perfectly synchronized with the on-screen action. The system is highly versatile, compatible with any type of seat, regular or recliner, new or existing, enabling rapid, scalable rollout across global markets. A perfect value add for premium large screen seating, as well as all market sizes and types of theaters.
So on this Thursday, April 16th, the final day of CinemaCon 2026, recording this in advance, so we are both not quite so worn out and exhausted as we will be. Alan Rowe of Jack Rowe, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Rebecca. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast.
So a lot of stuff to talk about. I know at CinemaCon, I always come out of it just with so much excitement and ideas, not just about the film, so obviously the films, but just the excitement that people feel about the industry. It's so infectious at CinemaCon, and I know it will be this year as well. I want to kind of start by asking you a more general question. We've seen so much evolution in the cinema industry over these past couple of years. I feel like we're in a very dynamic spot right now. Where do you feel that cinema is going over these next maybe 3, 4, 5 years, as far as the tech is concerned, the POS, the more operational sorts of things?
In terms of the tech, it just gets better and better, and we're seeing that in terms of the volume and variety of different experiences that are in particularly some of the larger cinema multiplexes. And then, even down to things like, art houses. There's some exceptionally busy art houses at the moment. And I think one of the things that can really benefit them is that the long tail of sort of films which already exists is getting longer and longer and longer and longer. So I just think there's so much to be excited about.
Yeah, there's so much more variety now, I feel like, in cinema, maybe than there used to be. Like you said, you have the really thriving rep space. I mean, I love going to these repertory cinemas. So you can go to a historic cinema and see something from the 30s in black and white. And then the next day you can go to the IMAX at the multiplex and see something like The Mandalorian and Grogu. And then you have everything from like micro cinemas that are more luxury and boutique-y to everything just gigantic and big with cinema entertainment centers. Let's take cinema and add bowling and axe throwing and arcade games. All that requires different things from a POS system, which I think is something that probably customers don't really realize or think about.
I think that's very true, as you say. Like, as it expands and expands and expands, the POS is getting more and more complex. Where POS, when you think about it, just stands for point of sale. But we've all grown so much beyond that now. Whether it's time clocks or gift cards, and obviously inbuilt CRM and emailing and sending text messages, and it's so much more than what was just the POS. So really, we become providers of like almost entire ERP systems for cinemas in terms of inventory costs and inventory flow management and things like that. We need to compete in cinemas with non-cinema food-based systems, because that's what cinemas need. They need to be able to have a single system that can manage all this stuff. And so it's extraordinary, some of the demands that are on the modern cinema POS. And I think that's huge, is thinking, not just, what do I need for today's cinema, but, what might my cinema need in 5 or 10 years? Because, if you make the right decision today, then you'll be working with that same person, that same team, in 5 or 10 years' time. So I think looking at where cinema POS has been, what it's done, sort of its track history is, and then finding the one that's right for you is really important.
When you speak with people who are thinking about moving to a different POS system or just, interested in finding out what's out there, I mean, there's so much at play. What do you recommend people ask you to start out?
I always say, just really do your research. Like, we all love it when you can just stumble across the right decision and it's a quick decision, and that's great. But the reality is, cinema POS is not a decision which is wise to make quickly. We had a process recently where we were really pleased to be selected by the Busy Art House, and they told us that they had looked at 11 different systems. I didn't even know that there really were 11 if I'd really dug that hard. But yeah, so it's so important, And in terms of the questions and the things to ask about, as I sort of started with, really is think about the future, not just for today. Don't think about a system that, well, yeah, that should do me for the next 3 years, because if you then have to start again from that's not the way to approach it. It's try to find a system that's going to be with you for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Because, if you pick the right system, it can be. But ways to think about it is, what's the true operating cost of that system? Are there going to be SQL Server licenses or things like that? What's the hardware can it run on? Does it need upgraded hardware and so on? How's it going to increase my revenue? That's huge. Obviously, it needs to do a lot more than sell tickets. It needs to be generating extra revenue. How's it going to save my team time? So, yeah, those are sort of the key factors. But really go down the rabbit hole on features, I would say. It's very straightforward to perhaps produce a list of different features that we might have. So there's certain features that we maybe had 20 years ago. And I could write down a piece of paper and I could say, yeah, we have, say, gift cards or something like that. But when I look at the development that's gone into gift cards over the last 20 years since we could have ticked that box, then that's where I think it's you need to really dig below the surface to make sure it really does what you need.
You want to do gift cards, but you want to be able to gift them to other people. You want to be able to establish like seasonal promotions for gift cards, maybe with special pricing.
Absolutely, yeah. Seasonal promotions, bulk promotions, future deliveries, so it arrives on their birthday. What about if they say they haven't got it? Can you resend it? What if they say they put in the wrong email address? Can you correct it and resend it? As you say, things like, it could be bonus cash and so on to go in as well. Can you bulk charge up 1,000 gift cards in one time without needing to swipe them all individually? Can you automatically send a gift card to a customer from the box office if they want to get a refund? Can they do self-service refunds onto gift cards? Can they consolidate gift cards? It's so many. And then obviously there's all the reporting around it as well in terms of all the accounting side of it. A lot of questions to ask around something as simple as, gift cards.
To what extent is it, I know it's tough to say for an average cinema because there's, all theaters are so different. To what extent is it possible to do everything through one POS versus doing integrations and working with, a variety of different companies on different specific things and then just integrating them all with Tapos or with whatever your POS is?
I love this question because I really touches upon, I think, where POS is right now. So thank you. There's this sort of question, I think, which is now more important than ever about whether it should be a single, what they call like a vertical, vertical stack, basically, or if it is going to be using different integrations to achieve all the different things a cinema might need. And the different cinema POS programs have different approaches to it. Ours is that the option should be there for the cinema, so they can choose, in the case of Tapos and certain other systems, a single vertical stack, and that's fantastic if that's right for them. But equally, they should be able to choose if they want to work with an existing partner or perhaps one partner they've always wanted to work with, whatever it might be, but the integration pieces should be there that they're able to do that. And so, we've intentionally tried to design our pricing and our model and so on in such a way that this is what we've got, and you're very welcome to use other systems if you want to, in conjunction with what we offer. We're not there to dictate to our customers or to prevent them from doing certain things. We're there to facilitate. And so, yeah, I totally agree. I think integration is really important, but equally, it's really important for the POS to be able to offer a vertical stack for those cinemas that want it. Because, as you say, they're just all radically different. We've got one recently who's joining us, and it's a single site, and they've brought on board a custom web developer for an API. And, at first we were sort of saying, are you sure about this? For single site, this is quite unusual. And they're like, no, we really want to. And these are the reasons. And this is how it's going to work. And it turns out this guy's an absolute superstar. And I get it now. And yeah, I think for most cinemas, that would particularly say a single independent cinema, that would be an absurd approach. But it's absolutely right for this one.
You really want things to be customizable without getting bogged down in the weeds too much, I guess, with every little. That's what you guys do. You can get bogged down in the weeds because you know the weeds.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important, I think, to feel like with all our business relationships, whether it's our own or the cinemas or whoever, as my granny used to say, only come this way once, you've got to enjoy who you're working with. And, it shouldn't feel like you're fighting against your vendors or fighting against your customers. And so, that's where, if you want to have a single system, great. If you want us to work with another company, super, let's do this.
What about with data as well as with POS and operational systems? I mean, there's so much out there. How do people start? Where do they start when they just, through their POS system, they have all this data and they say, all right, I want to use this to streamline marketing is obviously one of the, but, programming, staffing, what sort of, instruments does Tapas provide, or just are available in a more general sense to help you parse some of that stuff?
Yeah, no, and again, I think this touches upon the sort of the single stack versus the sort of integrated approach. So some systems, we tried to provide a single reporting stack, so you can have, things like whether it's other systems data coming into Tapos, so you've got a single dashboard. But then I can see that some third-party companies would say that this is a reason for perhaps having for their very existence, that they can then provide this single source of reporting. So again, you've got, well, if the POS company can do it, then that's great. But if someone wants to introduce something third party, then go for it. Yeah, it's a big topic. I mean, the POS company, I feel obviously as a POS provider, I feel like the best place for a lot of this stuff is often in the POS. And the reason I say that is because it has all the data. So if the customer says, oh, I need this to do X to do Y, then it might be quite a small step to just get that through. Whereas, of course, if you're now looking to export stuff to a separate place, then they need to do something. It's a much bigger conversation. It's a much bigger time frame. When it does get there, it's not unusual for anyone who's asking for what they think they want to only get maybe 80% of what they thought they needed when they first did the spec. So then you need to revise the spec based on what you get back from the software provider. So if you can do all that with one, then clearly there's some massive time savings and operational advantages to that. So, we've got, say, a forecasting tool now where you can put in, say, the gross tickets you expect for a specific film and so on, and it'll work out what your number of tickets sold on each day will be, what your cash flow forecast based on different food supergroups and so on. And then it'll even go down to things like, payroll forecasting, like how many hours should I have based on this and what days and hours and so on should they be working. So, but again, you could do that by exporting all this data elsewhere, but suddenly you've got quite a lot of, I think, overheads, whether it's financial, time, operational, that goes with it. No, not to mention, you then potentially having to deal with another interface. And, certainly for ourselves as a company, we try to keep the interfaces that we use ourselves down to a minimum, because the more we have, the more fragmented it is, the more we have to do cross-training, the more if one person's away, someone else can't do it. We're constantly trying to consolidate down the different interfaces we use into fewer interfaces because we think it benefits us operationally. And I think that's true for cinemas too.
I mean, especially for like a single location or smaller chain. I mean, the options of what you can do are so expansive, but you have to balance usability with that. Like, do you want just all of this data, all of these capabilities? How much are you really going to use? What are you going to get out of it?
Yeah, this thing about the usability, because quite often systems break down into, when a system is first launched, and this would have been true of Tapos when it was first launched 30 years ago, it's slick and beautiful and it's great, but it didn't do an awful lot. And then, as it's evolved, it's become more and more capable. And the danger is, as it becomes an increasingly sophisticated product, that it becomes more difficult to use. And then you end up with these barriers where it doesn't matter if it could be the best cinema PR system in the world by a factor of 10. If people can't use it, it doesn't matter. And so, we'll often have this kind of, we'll say internally that if we create a feature and people don't use it, that was just a vanity project. Like, that's a failure. I don't care if it does exactly what we thought it was going to do. If people don't use it, it's a failure.
If you can't convince people that it's valuable, if you can't relatively easily explain to them what they need to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we built our CRM inside the POS, so you don't need to have a separate interface to send the emails, to build the emails and so on. We had some customers who were saying, hey, you really should be sending out targeted weekly emails and so on. Some people they're just a bit busy. They're busy running their cinemas. They've got their own lives going on. And so, we ended up contacting those cinemas just saying, do you just want us to send them out for you? Because it's actually so easy to do. We'll just do it for you. Enough fuss. Don't worry. You don't have to pay us. We'll just send them out for you.
And that person's like, thank God.
Yeah. But if it was like, an hour to build the email and an hour to do the customer segmentation, like, could we have offered that to our customers for free? No, absolutely. And so, it's so important. I think you're absolutely right. Functionality only makes sense if it's simple to use. Otherwise, you're just building this functionality for the sake of it. Why? If customers pay us whatever hundreds of thousands of dollars to create certain features, and we do it, but in such a way that nobody ever uses them, it would have made more sense to just charge them less and not build the feature. So, absolutely, usability has to go absolutely hand in hand with functionality.
Imagine a world where your cinema's digital experience is as unforgettable as the movies you show. At Box Office, we strive to make that world a reality. We offer innovative solutions like custom-built websites, mobile apps, and user-friendly ticketing pages, crafted to meet the unique needs of cinemas. It's all about enhancing customer loyalty and making booking a breeze. Take your cinema's online experience to the next level with Boost. Contact us today at sales@boxoffice.com to learn more.
And we are back here on the Box Office Podcast with our guest this week, Stephanie Silverman, the executive director of the Belcourt Theater. Stephanie, welcome to the podcast here during our big CinemaCon week. Lots to talk about, but before we launch into things, why don't you give our listeners a quick sort of briefing on what the Belcourt Theater means to its community and the role you guys play in your specific market?
Sure. Well, thanks, first of all, for having me, Daniel. It's really fun to be having this conversation in this moment. The Belcourt is a 3-screen, independent, nonprofit art house theater. We're right in the heart of Nashville, Tennessee. And to say that we're community-based, mission-driven is about as on the nose as you can be for the Belcourt. So we're in a lovely neighborhood theater that was saved by the community in the early 2000s and has since had some pretty major renovations done to it, again, with a community-driven capital campaign. And we've just seen really steady growth in terms of audiences, donors, members over the last 26 years that we've been operating the theater as a nonprofit. And it's been a pretty wonderful thing. Nashville has really rallied around the Belcourt and lifted us up and supported us both by buying tickets, but also helping us continue to preserve this historic theater that we operate in. So it's been a real meaningful support system that the city has provided us and that this community shows us day in and day out.
You know, one of the things I hear a lot, especially from folks, is the competition you have, and it's not just streaming, right? I think that's a stay-home competition, but the real competition tends to be what the night out options are. And in a city like Nashville, where you guys are located, it's probably one of the toughest markets to compete for your night out dollar, for your entertainment dollar. So to see you guys over the last 2 decades plus go out, build a community, build an audience base has been a fantastic story. What have been some of those secrets to success to be able to say, hey, it's not just a place to watch movies, we're a destination for your entertainment time and money?
I think it's that, we sort of think of it, our world as like movies plus, right? So of course the mission is great programming, great films, both first run and repertory. We have a wide ranging program, but we also wrap those films with introductions by interesting humans from Nashville, whether they're subject matter experts for a documentary or just someone who loves a film for some specific reason. We'd have a lot of Q&As. We'd have a lot of classes. We teach film literacy classes and other kinds of film education programs for young people, but also for adults. So we end up being a kind of a complete film experience for people who are both diehards and also just like dipping their toe in the water and kind of wondering what an art house brings to the table in terms of the sort of exhibition experience.
And of course, a big part of the Belcourt has been your success with repertory programming. And we have to really highlight this in this day and age where the number of new releases from the studios, even the specialty side, they're not as consistent as they used to be. There are gaps on your calendar, but you've been able to leverage a very successful repertory program into an audience driver and a revenue driver over the last several years. What is the role of that repertory meant to you guys? And what are some of those tips that you would recommend any cinema looking into going back into the vault, going back into the archive and reviving their business?
First of all, we have been doing it consistently for 20 plus years now. So that is one helpful thing. But I think what repertory programming really allows is programming for your community in a very direct way, right? Like we're in conversation with Nashville regularly as we refine programming, as we feature this filmmaker or that filmmaker or some sort of other framing device around a repertory series. It just gives you the ability to sort of put a big frame around a large group of programming so that you can market it effectively and efficiently, but also bring a ton of variety to what people are seeing every weekend, every week. It allows us to play around with themes. We have a series that we do on Mondays called called Music City Mondays. It isn't exclusively repertory, but it's very Nashville based. It's always music related, and it's repertory a lot of the time. And it gives us a way for people to know what to expect, but also to energize a slow night of the week, right? Who goes to the movies on Mondays? Well, now we see really strong audiences for that series on a Monday night. So I think it also allows you to kind of maximize your calendar and your week in some really creative ways. So I do really like to tell people, though, that it is a little bit of like slow and steady wins the race. You have to build the audience, and that takes marketing time and dollars to do that. But it also takes the consistency of really programming on the regular and paying attention to where people's curiosities are. Like 90s movies right now are really a place where people want to come back and see them on the big screen again. And so lean into that. It's a fun way to get a younger audience in because they know of these films, they've seen these films on their other devices, and they really want to come see them in the way they were made and intended to be seen.
Someone reminded me recently that Scream is 30 years old, and that's just scary to me. That's the scariest
It's
part of the
astonishing,
franchise.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Talk about
Now that
aging
she's
yourself.
starting, you've got the adult daughter of Nev Campbell's character. That is the quickest way to age yourself, is just to sort of see where things are at. But you mentioned, a decade like the 90s, which to a lot of us seems like yesterday, seems like, oh, of course, we watched this plenty of times. But there really is this big nostalgia and people going back and reconnecting with these movies the same way that I hate that, very ancient way of looking at art houses and thinking repertory is just movies from, the classical studio era, basically anything for the 40s and 50s. That's repertory. Let's not touch that. No. The reality of repertory, as you just mentioned, is a lot more diverse, and you can go into so many different series that appeal to local communities.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're showing a whole bunch of Spielberg movies because it's spring. And honestly, talk about competing attention grabbers. A really beautiful spring day is our worst enemy right now. So we just have to be patient. The southern summer is going to be here soon enough when all you want to do is be in the air conditioning, and they'll be back. But a beautiful spring day keeps the people away, unfortunately. So, it's fun to put some really fun, nostalgic, beloved films on screen because, we can draw them back in that way. I also think that, it's a great way to support new releases. So when you have a new release, say from a Paul Thomas Anderson, right, you go back and explore his earlier canon in the run up to a One Battle After Another opening. People are really curious and love getting to see that work again on the big screen. So I think there are so many ways to actually have these new releases be in conversation with the rest of the canon. And that's a really smart way to program.
Now, let's talk about marketing repertory, because this is a challenge in its own right, of course. You guys are fortunate that you have a foothold, right? It's not that repertory works because you woke up one day and did it. You've been doing it for 20 years plus.
That's right.
And you've had bad years, and you had bad weekends, and you had bad months, and you know how to ride through that. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You really have to commit to it and communicate with audiences. How have you been able to market your repertory series to be able to get out there again in an attention economy like Nashville, where there's flyers for things to do every night of the week, everywhere you turn?
Yeah, I think it really is about that consistency. I mean, just on a marketing level, we sort of lean into both old school and new school strategies. We mail a newsletter, right? A print newsletter so that people can put it on their refrigerators. I go into other people's homes, friends' houses, and I see them up on the refrigerator. It's got everything in it for the month, right? It's a hard thing to pull off because, boy, late breaking is the way with movie programming. But we do that old school. We still do print advertising. Very little, but it's still there. But alongside that, we have an incredibly robust social media presence that we pay attention to daily. We answer questions. We're in conversation with our audience there. And that's just a great place to actually also then have your audience help share the word, spread the word, their posts about being here for something, us sharing their sort of responses and feedback and excitement. That's really been a powerful tool for us. But it does take staff, right? It's a level of attention and labor that's real, and that means we have to have dedicated, at least one, but a couple really, dedicated staff members paying attention to it and being in there in conversation with people all the time. Building up your email list over the years. We have about a 50,000 person email list now. So every Wednesday, they know what's going to open the following Friday, and people watch for it and they know it. So it's a lot about regularity and consistency. But we also have found framing devices to be really good, series framework, so that it's not just, this repertory movie, that repertory that has some kind of randomness. If we can do a whole series that's even if it's just a month long, it gives you the umbrella to then explain what's going on for a month. And people just go, oh, it's a Spielberg series. I know what that means. I'll look for the movies that I'm curious about.
And you guys, as part of this, have a fantastically robust membership program that has been successful for many years. And I know there's a lot of nonprofits that have gone this road. I know there's a lot of art houses that have instituted successfully. What has worked for you guys in opening up a membership program?
First of all, just the notion that by being a member, you're inherently buying into the support of the Belcourt, right? I think sometimes nonprofit can be a little misleading. I like to say, it's a tax status, not a business practice, because we care very much about selling tickets and putting
It's a bad rap that we get. All arts organizations, you call us nonprofit, and you can see the eye rolls at the Thanksgiving dinner table already, right? We really have to find a better way to sell ourselves. I love that. It's a tax status, not a business model.
Yeah. So we want to sell as many tickets to as many people as possible. We want this building full every day, all the time. So we really, really care about that. But what the nonprofit status does for us, mostly as a building, is allow us to reinvest in our theater, right? To make upgrades to our projection systems, to make sure our theater experience is as top-notch as possible. And so that really ends up being the donor-driven piece. It also funds our education programs that we send out into the community that we don't want to charge anyone for. We want to provide that service. So the membership program really allows people to just be an active part of all of that sort of good work, in addition to feeling like they're supporting the theater in a day in and day out kind of way. And people just like having a membership card and being able to say, I'm here, I support you, and my membership dollars are helping this building a little bit more than just my ticket every day that I walk in. So it's been great. And at the beginning of 2026, we had about 8,300 members, which is an all-time high for us. When we closed for the pandemic, we were at about 7,000, which was an all-time high for us at that point. And then, of course, we were closed for a while. So we lost some members. So it was fun to get back to that 7,000 number. And now we've gone far beyond it. And it's really meaningful to us to see, again, the community sort of say, we care about you and we want to be a part of what the Belcourt is.
Well, that's such an important part of this business, right? Being that third place for your local community, for the people that live around your area, to know that it is part of that city's identity. And I love that anecdote that, hey, you were at 7,000 in 2020. And I'm sure once you guys reopened, you wondered, do we ever get to that again? You've surpassed it.
Totally. Yeah, no, I think when we reopened, we're like, what's the next 5 years going to look like? It was so hard to imagine. And so it's really been good to come out of another really strong year. 2025 was a good year for us. 2024 was a good year for us. So, here's looking at you, 2026. I hope we can say the same in a few months.
Yeah, I think those recovery efforts are already underway. The new releases are coming in a little bit more often, more consistent. I think one of those big changes that you mentioned over the last 5 years has been in terms of the focus in film marketing for the newest movies, for the widest releases, to be in a premium large format. It's hard to see a trailer for a new blockbuster that doesn't have, in big bold letters, watch it in premium format right at the end. And that's tough for the vast majority of cinemas, not only in this country, but around the world, that haven't made those investments, or that those investments, frankly, don't really make sense for them and their audience based. So how have you guys gone through this new rush, this arms race of PLF where everybody's trying to figure out what makes sense for them. How did you guys decide what made sense for you? And how do you compete with all the bells and whistles out there with the great presentation technology you already have?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we do make sure that our presentation is as dialed in and as great as it can be. I mean, we say always we want every screening to be the kind of screening where if the director walked in the door, they would be thrilled with what they saw on screen. But we are never going to be a premium large format space. We're in a historic building. We are what we are. We don't have an IMAX screen. We're never going to have one. And so I would say it has occasionally affected the way we program films. We have 3 screens, right? Because we're not like our chain colleagues with plenty of space. We have a limited amount of screens. So we have to choose what makes the most sense both for us as a business choice, but more importantly, really, as a curatorial choice. What movie could use our help or our support versus, the next that is made the decision to be a PLF film, and they're going to do that and they're going to fight for the IMAX space. Maybe we're not going to program that film. We're going to choose another one. But another space I think we see a lot of advantageous sort of positioning is around film, right? So we are still showing 35. We have for years and years, both in the repertory and the first run side. We're looking at adding 70 because that's more the direction that we would go in versus adding other kind of PLF technologies. But we do have beautiful Barco laser projectors in here. Like we are, the experience is still top notch.
It's still premium. That's what we
It's
have
absolutely
to focus on.
premium.
You don't need a brand name from a third party to make sure your auditoriums are premium. They are already with the technology you've invested in.
That's exactly right. And pricing wise, we want to make sure that the film experience is still accessible and affordable. We do not want to price ourselves out of our own community. And I think as audience members are feeling stressed about the general economic world around them, the movies are gonna be a safe space where you can spend careful dollars, the money that you use when you go out, but you can spend it well and have an extraordinary experience. And I think this is gonna be an opportunity for exhibition to be a safe space for people in a more trying economic time.
And I love that he brought up using film screenings to eventize some of the programming you have, whether it's a new release that you're showing in an exclusive 35 millimeter engagement, or you go repertory and have a 35 millimeter print available. You mentioned 70. These analog technologies, we can basically call an offshoot of that PLF hype, right? I mean, it is
Totally.
a way to advertise and say, you're looking for a format. Let's focus on the format part of the conversation rather than all the bells and whistles that might be part of it.
It's analogous to what's happening in the music world here that we see in Nashville, right? This newfound love for vinyl. There are several vinyl pressing plants here in Nashville, and they can't keep up with the orders because the demand has gotten so big. So, I think it's also as everything gets newer and technology is advancing very quickly, there is a safety in loving what the predecessor, right? The originator. So I think it's fun for us as an institution that's in a 100-year-old building. This building has been serving Nashville for 100 years as of 2025, to be able to sort of explore all of those things in the full spectrum of exhibition over the decades. And it's really lovely that audiences are excited about that conversation.
Now, a big part of the work that you guys do over the Belcourt is collaborating and coordinating with other cinemas that are similar to you guys. You're very active members, not only of iTalk here, part of Cinema United, but also Art House Convergence. We've heard all week at CinemaCon from some of the biggest studios, from the biggest exhibitors, multinational chains, on what the opportunities and concerns are for that model of exhibition. Not putting words in your mouth on speaking for the entire art house or independent theater or community, but from one independent operator. From your perspective as an art house operator, what are your biggest opportunities and concerns for the next couple of years in our business?
Sometimes I feel like I sound a little Pollyanna, but it's not easy to be an exhibitor right now. That is for sure. But I am incredibly excited by the level of curiosity and commitment to the movie-going experience that we're seeing from younger audiences right now. They're coming to repertory. They're curious about filmmakers' work and, again, like being in community and having those shared experiences. I find that very exciting because when we open a One Battle or a Hamnet or a Marty Supreme, the kind of films that end up on our screens, those audiences are coming because they also maybe came to all the David Lynch movies we were showing, several months ago, or, there's real overlap in that. And I just feel like that's an audience that we're building for the long term and that they're going to be in this movie going habit. And it's going to continue as they continue to age through their lives and share something special with their children. So that's been really exciting. I hate to give the streamers credit, but the fact of the matter is people can access a lot of movie making on their home screens now. And one benefit, there are a lot of frustrations around that when you're the exhibitor, but one benefit of that is that people are seeing films that they may not have seen before. And then when we put them on the big screen here, they want to come and see it again, right? It's this sort of introduction tool that then maybe translates into getting someone to buy a ticket to see that film in community with their friends. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in there to continue to be in conversation with audiences. My worry, which is, I think I share this with a lot of people, is that as consolidation happens, that the risk taking to support real creativity in the filmmaking space will just get leaner and leaner. And the appetite for a little bit of risk is so important. We just saw it in the third quarter or the fourth quarter of this year, right? All of this wonderful original storytelling and movie making made studios and exhibitors a nice amount of money and certainly saw audiences show up. And I just hope that there's a way to compel studios to continue to support great filmmakers making risk-taking creative films, because that is, from our perspective, what audiences are really clamoring for right now.
Absolutely. And, when you talk about those younger audiences, it's not just Minions and Marvel that they're going to.
No.
And there's folks that they take watching anything at any point on their screens at home, they take that for granted. They were born with that. People of my generation, people of your generation, I hate to date us here, Stephanie. For us, it's a novelty. For
Absolutely.
us, it's a wonderful miracle that we can watch this from the convenience of our homes. For the younger generations, it just comes standard. It's not special. It's not something that maybe like we had going to the video store and getting a movie and that was your Friday night. No, this is something you do on the background at home. And to be able to discover something at home and say, hey, now I want to watch it completely focused on the big screen with other people like me. I think that's something fascinating and exclusive to us. No one else can offer that to these audiences moving forward.
That's exactly right. And the truth of the pandemic was we were the thing that got taken away. And I think that has created an appetite now that we're back up and running. I think all of those kids that were trapped in their homes, streaming anything they wanted to, this is not the preferred experience now. It was almost a punishment. So though it was a lifeline for all of us, it is that community piece of it, that scale and immersion. There is never immersion in your home. I mean, at least for me, maybe I'm also, I'm distractible. There's always laundry to do or whatever when I'm at home. But the immersion that the theatrical experience gives you is pretty unlike anything in our lives right now, where there's always multiple screens and a lot of information coming at you all the time. And that gets stripped away in the theater. And that is magical. When those lights go down and that screen lights up, you are focused for the next 2 hours and just delivered somewhere else. And I think in our world today, that is still, and maybe more than ever, the magical release that people need.
Absolutely. And we're so happy and proud to have theaters like yours be part of that experience, be part of opening doors to young people and reconnecting with older folks to things that they've enjoyed all these years. Stephanie Silverman, thank you so much for joining us.
Daniel, thank you so much for having me. This has been great.